Am I the asshole for making a snarky comment after my boundaries were overlooked?
Me, 22F, and my girlfriend, Lisa, 21F, were recently invited to a dinner by Lisa's best friend, Angela, 21F. Angela has no family in this country and we are the only two people she knows around here. About 7 months ago she met a guy, Steve, 33M, and they both quickly hit it off.
Around March they started dating.
This dinner was basically an event where Steve could introduce her to his family.
Angela had no company so she invited us. Lisa is familiar with Steve, met him multiple times. Unlike me, I saw him once or twice, but we were happy to join. I also assumed that Steve was okay with us joining as well. Honestly, it was great. Everyone had lots of fun chatting.
I didn't speak much except when I was talked to.
The family had mom, dad, and a younger brother, John, 28M. I didn't see John a lot because he was cooking.
The dinner was good too. I liked the food. I finished before everyone else so I was just sitting on my chair. John maybe noticed my empty plate, so he offered me some rice dish.
I found the gesture really sweet, but since I was full, the conversation went something like this. Hey, would you like some rice?
I made it myself. That's so sweet of you, but no, thank you, I'm full.
I made it myself, please have some.
That's nice, but I am really full, so, no but thank you.
I made it, taste it. No, thank you. I don't know why, but he still poured some rice into my plate. I lost it and made the snarky comment. Do you not know the meaning of no? Do you need a dictionary? To which he looked taken aback. Lisa noticed I was a bit pissed and said, please don't force her to have more food.
She said so because I have had trouble in past with food, like a borderline ed, so it was a sensitive topic which we didn't want to discuss there.
Before things could escalate, Steve took John into his room and they both never returned. The room was filled with awkwardness and after 5 minutes his mom left too. So we decided that it's best to leave and talk about this later.
Angela didn't look angry with us but she looked disappointed and I felt bad, so we apologized to her for messing up the dinner.
Regardless, she agreed with us that John's behavior was weird but we didn't think much.
Yesterday morning, Angela showed up at our home, telling us that his boyfriend got mad at her, yelled at her for how we treated John.
Turns out, John is autistic and not good with social cues.
That's why he didn't really understand the situation. Steve mostly blamed me for not treating his brother nicely, for making the snarky comment and that I should have just eaten the goddamn rice.
I do feel bad for John, but at the same time I don't think what I did was wrong either. I'm ready to apologize for Lisa and Angela, since they both look really upset, but frankly, I don't want to, so please tell me that if I am the asshole? Edit, update. No, I don't want more food is not some obscure social cue. It's a full sentence with clear message.
Being autistic is not an excuse to a pushy behavior.
Not the asshole op. Your friend's boyfriend and his family are though, for expecting the world to revolve around their, I am assuming adult, child. I had no idea repeatedly saying, no, was a social cue. You're not the asshole for making the snarky comment.
While it's alright that John has difficulty with social cues due to his autism, you also have the right to set boundaries and decline food when you're full. John repeatedly ignoring your polite refusals was not okay, and it's understandable that you reacted out of frustration.
Not the asshole.
You had no way of knowing John was autistic and you did politely refuse him multiple times.
I would explain it in those terms when you talk to your friends though. Not the asshole. Then he should have told you about it in advance.
John is autistic and not good with social cues. You shouldn't force yourself to eat more if you don't want to anymore.
I should have just eaten.
Just want to add that the boyfriend is 33 years old.
Am I the asshole for not saying anything when my son was being picked on?
My 10-year son Dylan is a bit abrasive with his friends but is very fun to be around.
We're lucky enough to have a lot of families on our block with classmates of Dylan.
A couple of days ago, he had a few of his friends over and they all reeked.
I didn't say anything because I knew their parents would the minute they came home and would fix it. I told Dylan he needed to start using deodorant and he said he really didn't. I said yes you do and I'll put some on you if you don't. Today he was outside wrestling with his friends and didn't put any deodorant on. His friends told him he smelled and to go back inside.
They lobbed insults at each other and Dylan came inside crying.
I later told him that it was his fault for not putting on deodorant and your friends weren't wrong.
He asked why I didn't tell his friends to stop picking on him and I said because I knew it would hurt you enough to where you'd put deodorant on. He said I was a mean dad.
No judgment. When my son was in 6th grade, my husband and I went to parents' night. The teacher pleaded with the parents to make their children use deodorant.
The classroom was on the 2nd floor of a building with no air conditioning. Not the asshole you told Dylan he needed deodorant and he ignored you, then he got called out on it by his friends who noticed his bad aroma. You weren't a bad dad, you were a good one in trying to help him out before this happened. Too bad for him he didn't listen to you first. His choice, so his inaction led to a negative consequence.
Tell Dylan. If you haven't already have that next time he will listen to you to avoid future embarrassment.
A valuable lesson learned for him in my humble opinion. I don't know what he expected you to do to protect him. Tell his friends you thought he smelled fine?
That would be lying. You are not the asshole for not intervening when his friends were mocking him.
That was a direct consequence of Dylan not taking your advice, and if you had intervened, it might have made things worse for him as it would have made him appear even more pathetic to his friends. That said, you are an asshole for reacting so callously to your kid in private. The right thing would have been to explain to Dylan that the friends were wrong for being mean, but also that Dylan should wear deodorant.
Sometimes people have to learn the hard way. Not the asshole. Not the asshole.
What were you supposed to do, go out and fight 10-year-olds or tell them to stop throwing banters at themselves? You handled it the best way.
His mates told him the hard truth he refused when you tried to teach him. You were the asshole for your explanation.
He asked why I didn't tell his friends to stop picking on him and I said because I knew it would hurt you enough to where you'd put deodorant on. Dad, why didn't you help me? Because I knew they would hurt you.
Do you really think he heard anything you said after that?
You could have said.
Well, you would not believe me, I thought that you might listen to them. I am sorry that your feelings got hurt in the process, but I did try to warn you.
That way you didn't just tell your child that you are willing to let people hurt him, if you agree with what they are saying.
Am I the asshole for not letting my girlfriend use shared funds for a vacation? My girlfriend, 27F, and I, 32M, have been together for 2 years. We moved into an apartment together about 2 months ago. We both like to travel, so we set up a shared account that we both contribute to that we decided we would use exclusively for travel. When we set up the account, I was under the assumption that this travel fund would be used for trips we take together. It never even crossed my mind that it would be used for solo trips. But, apparently my girlfriend thought otherwise. She is currently planning a girls' trip with some friends of hers. She was talking to me about cost and said that there is just about enough in the travel fund for her entire trip. When we first set up the fund, we both individually deposited a fairly large lump sum to get the account started. I have set up direct deposits of a much smaller amount to go into the fund every paycheck. It's only been a few pay periods since I did that, but I know I've put more in there than she has because I have more disposable income. I brought it up to her that I thought this was a shared trip fund, not money that we would take out for individual trips. She said that she would replenish the fund with higher deposits after the trip to compensate for what she takes out. I told her I don't feel comfortable with that and that she should use her own separate money to fund her trip. She said that she wouldn't be able to go then. I told her that if she can't afford it on her own, she shouldn't go. I don't want to fund her solo trips. She got upset with me and accused me of not trusting her to replenish the account. I told her I do trust her, but that money should be used for shared travel only. I told her I know exactly how much I put in there and I don't want my money used for her trips. I told her that it's partially my fault for assuming that fund would be used only for shared trips, but it doesn't make any sense to me that we would use shared funds for individual travel. I asked her if she would be okay with me draining the account for a boys' trip and she told me as long as I replenish it she would be fine with it. I said that if she wants to use the money she already put into that account for her trip, then she can take exactly that amount out. But I don't want her using any of my money for her solo trip. She accused me of being controlling and not wanting her to have fun on a girls' trip. She asked if I'm worried about her cheating and I told her of course not because I trust her. She then asked what the problem is if I trust her not to cheat I should trust her to replenish the account. I told her that maybe setting up that account was a mistake and that I will just take my money out of the account and she can use whatever is left for her solo trip.
She got mad and told me that I should be more trusting of her and that I am making her out to be a bad partner over nothing.
I told her it's partially my fault for assuming. No.
This isn't on you.
That's a flatly reasonable assumption.
Your girlfriend should spend her own money on her own trip.
When you two go someplace together, then it comes out of the shared pool. Not the asshole. Not the asshole, but move out your funds now before she uses them anyways.
Not the asshole if your girlfriend wanted to subsidize the trip by withdrawing her contribution to the account, fine and fair.
Emptying the account and using all the money for a girl's trip is unfair and not the purpose of the shared account despite her protestations to the contrary. I told her that maybe setting up that account was a mistake and that I will just take my money out of the account and she can use whatever is left for her solo trip.
She got mad and told me that I should be more trusting of her and that I am making her out to be a bad partner over nothing.
It was a bad idea.
It's not a good idea to commingle finances if you are single.
It leads to misunderstandings like this one.
If your girlfriend doesn't like it, oh well.
Not the asshole. Get your money out ASAP before she buys non-refundable tickets. Not the asshole. Funny how only 2 months of living together, setting up a shared account for travel expenses, she decides on her own to completely deplete those shared funds for a girl's trip. I have to wonder, was this trip discussed with her girlfriends before or after the opening of the shared account? And who started that discussion? Let her use her credit card if it's such a guarantee that she'll pay it back. Am I the asshole for allowing my wife join the guys in my family when the women are cooking? My wife, 25 female, and I, 27 male, have been married for 6 months and together for 7 years. My wife isn't close to her family, long story, and I had a pretty decent relationship with mine, so when she graduated a year ago and we were ready to settle down, she wanted us to be near my family. They had met and things were okay, so it seemed cool. One thing I should mention is my family are more traditional, the women and men in the extended family mostly. My great-grandma always believed that during family time women do the cooking and men should do their own thing, play outside, watch a game, something. My brothers and I know how to cook only because my dad, who married into the family with the traditional views, was not raised that way and knows how to cook. He was able to get us competent law. I'm pretty good but not as good as someone who was taught more and earlier. But the traditional views were always weird to me and were not something I believed in ever. It was something I was upfront with my wife about when we were only dating. My wife is an amazing cook. I will sing her praises every chance I get. She makes amazing food. She was super popular with her roommates and later our roommates in college when she'd agree to take on cooking duty. We both cook at home, but I love every night she cooks. The women in my family are jealous of this. Ever since we moved closer, she was expected to join them in the kitchen. Her cooking got compliments from the family. The men didn't always realize it was her and would say they loved the changes made to a dish. As a direct result, the female members of my family were being dicks to my wife and making comments about her not doing enough and being lazy but then trying to take over. My wife really wanted to be close to them, so she tried so hard. But I hated seeing it and my dad couldn't get through to mom. So I told her she should step out of the kitchen and join us guys. She was hesitant to do so but had fun the first time and she fit right in, and this pissed off the women in the family who told me I should be insisting she join them like she's supposed to. They said I should not allow her to skip cooking duty. I told them I encouraged her to stay with us since they were so unfair to her. I told them we could always skip seeing them if that would make them happier. My wife feels bad. My dad joined me in telling her that the women are just being too hard on her and she doesn't deserve to be treated the way they were treating her. We talked about not attending and I enjoy being with the family less, but she hopes it'll get better. My mom confronted me alone and again told me I was wrong to allow this. I told my mom I love my wife and do not want her mistreated and excluded by my family. She said I'm not doing any favors hiding her from them. I told her they could try being nicer. She said I'm making this a bigger deal than it needs to be. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. You're doing the right thing helping her to be comfortable in these situations. It's a no-win thing for her, but at least you and your dad are supporting her. Also, allowing her? You're not her boss or keeper.
Good on you for making the effort to make your wife comfortable and refusing to give in to this outdated nonsense.
Not the asshole. My first marriage was into a traditional Polish family.
Same thing. All the women are expected to cook, clean, and work full-time, while the men adorn the couches.
I moved away from my Western family to marry in the East.
It lasted 5 years of dealing with the matriarchal arrogance, the nasty remarks, the petty jealousies, the mean-spirited entitlement.
Your wife is sweet and kind. I'm glad you are standing up to the female bullies.
There is no place in real families for this catty behavior. Hopefully with your dad's help, both you and he can start changing things for the better.
I feel so sorry for your wife, but kudos to your dad and the other men in your family for being okay with this change, and to you nonetheless. I applaud you.
Perhaps it's time to add some changes into the family?
Forgive me for finding the arrangement of this a tad old-fashioned.
Your wife honestly sounds like a breath of fresh air in this situation.
Not the asshole, but rather than just supporting your wife joining the men, wouldn't it be more meaningful if your dad and you helped in the kitchen?
Spend more time with us so we can treat you badly. Your wife wisely opted out. Make her spend more time with us so we can treat her badly. Good job not falling for this one. Be prepared that next up is an accusation that you are insufficiently masculine, which is garbage of course. But that's their next logical lever. Amazing that your mom will go to all this effort just to avoid being less of a jerk to your wife, and then she thinks you're the one making it a big deal. Keep up the good work.
Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Why would or should she hang out with people who are bullying her? In the kitchen, gets complained about because she cooks too well. In the living room, gets complained about because she isn't doing woman duties. No win situation for her.
Your mom's side of the family has some very backwards views.